In a world of fake news, this is news you can trust. Calling upon the two she-bears of satire in a world that cries, "Hey, Baldy." You're listening to the Babylon Bee with your hosts, Kyle Mann and Ethan Nicole.
Yes, I am Kyle Mann, and with me, as always, is the man, the legend. His wife's a nurse.
Yes, she is. She's an amazing nurse.
Ethan Nicole.
Yes.
Nicole.
But also another legend is with us.
Yes.
Our first ever returning guest.
Oh my gosh. What? Really?
We've never had somebody back yet.
I've
No, that's not
always
true.
wanted to be a first.
She's
I
our
can't
second-
get
well,
to be any.
she's our
You're the
second.
second.
Because we had,
Do we have anybody back on?
Yeah, movie guy.
I guess that's true. I always think of him as like he was already going to be a recurring guest when he came on. Like we already were like, oh yeah, we're going to do movie episodes.
They are kind of
and
special.
He'll be like our analytical movie guy.
they're
Well,
special.
also I'm.
And his name's Brian Godawa. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, I was like, Brian something.
I think I'm the first black woman on your podcast.
That's true.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take anything. I'm cheap. I
No.
just want any
No.
kind of first. I feel
Was
like
she
they're
before
all
Candace
taken
Owens?
up.
I'm just joking.
You were before Candace Owens.
I was before
I
Candace
just wanted
Owens.
to take away her thunder. Sorry, no, you actually weren't the...
Well, I'm Kira, by the way.
Yeah, welcome,
Yeah.
Kira Davis,
For anyone who's wondering what.
editor
the
at
heck
large at RedState.
Yep.
Had to get that in there. But yeah, so if you haven't listened to this podcast, or the backlog people that are listening, Kira Davis did an episode that was has been one of the most commented on favorites. Like people tell me constantly, like, I really like that.
It's interesting.
Kira.
Yeah.
That was a great episode. I love that one.
My mom...
Is that your mom? That was my impression.
My
of your
mom said... she goes, I like Kira. I want her to be my friend.
Aw. Tell your mom I will totally be her friend.
She didn't have that same thing to say about Bridget Fetisi, I don't think.
Oh, Bridget's
Didn't
a
want to
little
be
raw.
Bridget's friend.
Poor Bridget.
Bridget and I are the same person, just on kind of like different ends of the spectrum. But
Born into
your
different
mom might be disappointed to know
households.
that we're not that different.
Yeah.
Bummer.
It's really good to be back with you guys. I'm really pleased with the response to that podcast. I think it says a lot about what people are hungry for.
Totally.
Yeah. I think everybody's sick of being angry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
No.
I want more anger.
Yes, there's never enough.
We were at this gala. We went to this fancy event because Kyle just referred to my wife as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
We were there, and this lady was pregnant. This pregnant lady, she just suddenly passed out at the feet of my wife. who was, like an amazing nurse. Like it was like,
Oh my gosh.
like if you wrote that into a script, you'd be like, come on, this is stupid. Like, why would you pass out right at the feet of an amazing nurse? My wife was like on it, just.
Yeah,
Thank
And I was
you,
just walking around all
Jesus.
proud.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like backing away all nervous, like getting their drinks and like, maybe we should mingle over here because that lady
that would be
passed
me.
out.
I'm
Yeah.
like, leave the hurt person. They're just every man for themselves. That's amazing.
So shout out to my wife who also loved your episode.
Oh,
This is one of the few things that I do that she listens to it.
right. Oh,
Or like,
that's
you know,
nice.
I'm
I get it.
Yeah.
None of my family listens to or
Yeah.
watches anything that I do. I mean, I'm on the #1 cable news channel in America regularly. And I don't think my family has seen 1 second. They are not impressed with me at all. And any, like nothing I do impresses them.
Oh, we'll be your family.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're your new family.
Oh yeah, okay.
Welcome to
I'll
your
inform
new
them.
family.
Really excited. Well, Christmas at the Babylon Bee compound is going to be lit.
Oh
Yeah.
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 For sure.
3 white guys in a little white room. One gray wall.
Oh no, no.
We have an accent wall.
Your listeners don't know what this place is. This is a sprawling compound with
Yeah,
acres and acres of green, clean land. There's some goats. There's some baby goats wandering
Yeah, we do a
around.
lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
They're Old Testament Christians here.
Keeping it OT.
Yep.
Well, this has been quite an intro. We've dove in.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next time on the Babylon Bee podcast.
We're going to go through some stories here, and we're going to
Great.
Our main topic. We're going to talk about the culture war
Culture wars. Insert
Christianity.
crazy sound cue here.
between. Yeah, it's Kira's idea. How about I let her say what it's going to be?
This is how prepared the Babylon Bee podcast guys. What do you want to talk about, Kira?
It's just when I trust Kira so much. I'm like, whatever you say that you want to talk about.
Well, I said that, and I know we're probably going to do one of these stories today, but what I said today, waking up, the big news was Chick-fil-A perhaps bending the knee to LGBTQ IA activists.
Plus. The A is out. The A got in trouble, so there's no more A.
So it's just plus?
One of the A's is out, I think. Like allies, they say allies are not allowed in the...
Oh, I didn't even know what the A was.
Well, there's also like asexual, I think, but I don't know if that's...
Oh, really?
Yeah. But one of them is allies, and they said no, allies are not allowed in the letters.
Wow.
Right, because why would you want to welcome people who are on your side into your movement?
That's getting a little spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's the big news. There's a lot going around. We're, of course, writing about it at RedState as well.
Yeah.
And I thought, here's a good opportunity to talk about the culture and how Christians should and maybe shouldn't be involved in the culture. And I'm a conservative as well as a Christian. And so we have this conversation a lot on my side of the political fence about how influential the culture is. It really is. So perhaps that's a great subject for us to address today, because I think Babylon Bee is a big part of that too, kind of just fitting into the culture in a certain way. Maybe we want to break down. I know a lot of Christians struggle with it. Like, and I know even in my own family, we did. Like when we moved to Southern California, we were pretty, like, the Black church is pretty conservative. Like, we were very conservative. We did not celebrate Halloween. We've never done Santa. Like, when we got here, everyone celebrated Halloween. I felt like the worst parent in the world because we weren't doing Halloween. We eventually, though, after much discussion, changed our minds about it. So, but that's just an example of how Christians have to consider the culture and have to make certain judgment calls that perhaps other people don't. So maybe we want to just address that and see.
Yeah, just the general idea of like, how do we deal with it?
Yeah. How far into it should we be?
Yeah, what are our lines, and what are also the weirdness of like when Christian stuff becomes really popular.
Yeah.
Like Kanye West is a popular. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff we can talk about.
See?
There's stuff.
See?
Just remember that you can't spell Santa without Satan.
I know it. I know it. That's why there's no Satan or Santa in the Davis house.
Amen. Let's do some stories.
Let's do it.
Every week, there are stories. These are some of them.
Joel Osteen leads Kanye West to top of Lakewood Church to tempt him with all the kingdoms of the earth in their splendor.
Whoa, speaking of Satan.
Coming in hot.
Instant.
Coming in hot. Wow.
Instant Satan reference.
Well, this has been like this whole Kanye thing and the Kanye Osteen thing. It's like, if you told me about this a year ago, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Like all these headlines we write at the Bee, or you read a real news headline, you're like, that, what? Like it would make absolutely no sense if you read it to someone 12 months ago.
This is where we're at in like the talk about the culture. I feel like this is where we're at. Things are moving at lightning speed. Like you, and everything's flipped on its head. Like I said today, Obama's in a little bit of trouble from the left wing because he said,
the cancel culture.
Yeah, he was like, y'all are going too far. Like, pull it back.
Yeah, with all this woke stuff.
Right. He said, pull it back. This is...
Or did he say a new thing?
He said a new thing. He said the Democrat Party is pulling too far left.
Oh, wow.
And that they need to beware that that they're losing some people. So he's getting canceled for that. And today I tweeted out, okay, the right's canceling Chick-fil-A, the left's canceling Obama. Like, where are we? What is happening? Yeah, it's all moving so crazy.
We tried to get Scott Adams to make some more predictions. We talked to him last episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he can even tell at this point.
Who can?
Yeah.
I'm loath to make predictions these days, but the Kanye thing is really, I think as a commentator and a writer, conservative writer, what I find the most kind of insane about it is how quickly conservatives adopted him as like an idol and a hero. Like overnight.
It takes nothing.
Yeah. He wore a red hat, which did the job half the way, but as soon as he came out and saying, hey, I'm for Jesus now, and this is what I'm about, then it was like all people white people that I know who have never heard a bar of a rap song got his album.
I never knew.
And they are playing it like, this album's really good, you guys. Like,
is that your white voice?
That's I mean, my regular voice is white voice, so that's my extra white voice.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I just find it so and I guess I should apologize. I don't mean to be insulting to people who are enjoying this version of Kanye, but I just find it so odd that all of a sudden it's flipped on its head. Like you guys are saying, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 4, before elections, before he wore the red hat, people were insulting Kanye.
Yeah.
He was holding a whole host of concerts where he depicted himself as Jesus. You know, and Christians I wrote plenty of articles about his ego. And so it's just odd how quickly that flipped.
Yeah, it's crazy. Has anybody done like the rabbit hole where you're on YouTube and you watch the Sunday, what do they call the Sunday
service?
I keep clicking on different videos because like there's something really fascinating about like these massive, huge gatherings and they're singing crazy worship and like it sounds like it'd be chilling in a good way, like a giant choir type singing. Yeah, it's like wow.
I mean, I guess it's not odd to see. I guess maybe what we're seeing is kind of a revival. I mean,
it makes me curious.
Big tents.
Yeah, is this is it a revival or is it what is happening? I'm backing away, going. I don't know what's happening. I'm not going to say, but like it's fascinating to see it. See what's happening there in those gatherings, and also does make me wonder if it can have some effect on that, because it feels like the whole culture war thing where we're going down this road, which a big part of that is the stronghold that the left seems to have on blacks. It makes me wonder if something like this could have any good effect on that. Like I don't know. I mean, I think when it comes to the black community and faith, that's a whole different ball of wax than politics, because black people are, I mean, I think statistically, I think the government's got us at 87% or 85% declaring like active Christians, although I think the number's higher, to be honest. But so it's not the kind of stuff Kanye's doing, although he's doing it like on a huge scale with like, it's not atypical to see that in black Christian culture. Right. So what you were responding to, like the spectacle of it and the worship point, like that's a lot of what you'll see in a black church. Right. But I even
do
just
think
the attitude of thinking outside of what,
I do think that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what effect. I'm more interested in, to be honest with you, I'm more interested in the effect it has on white Christians. Yeah. I'm really fascinated to see.
It's opening up something's opening up.
Something's opening up. I'm like you. I'm like standing back.
Yeah, I'm both skeptical and at the same time kind of encouraged. Like I don't know. I'm just on the fence. I don't know what to say.
Kyle?
I was waiting for you guys to finish your conversation.
You can't wait for
Kyle
me.
always waits.
You can't wait for me to stop. Yeah, you've got to interrupt.
The funny thing is, me and him are both total introverts generally in conversational settings. So it's been a weird transition for both of us to do this. And I had just done a little bit of podcasting before we started this, so I always became the guy who tried to, we got to talk, we got to fill in the space, we can't have all the silence.
I just want to say that you guys are my Chick-Fil-A.
I don't know if that's good or bad, though.
You're my number one with the lemonade.
I'll say this.
Favorite lyric?
I will say this. I don't think he'll listen to this, so I'll just say my teenage son was raised in a Christian home and he's getting ready to go off to college and he's having a little bit of a crisis of faith. You know, he's like really exploring if this is something he wants or believes. And he downloaded the Kanye album and I was asking him what he thought about it. And he was like, I think it's really good. And he was like, I don't know about the message, but I think it's really good. But to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, but he's getting the message, you know, he's listening to something that he's engaged with and it's feeding him some gospel truths, to be honest. I mean, I've listened to the album. So I guess in that respect, no matter what his motives are, it can't be all bad.
Yeah.
You know, somebody is receiving something positive from this.
Yeah, I think there is, you should have caution. You know, some celebrities like, I'm a Christian. We've seen that before. You know, Bob Dylan released 3 fully Christian albums and then was like, You know, so this has happened before, you know, and time will tell, obviously.
Creed.
But it doesn't seem to me like he's doing it just for money or fame or anything. Like he already had that, you know. I
disagree.
No, there's no way he's doing it for money or fame.
He might. Kanye's
why would you do that when you're already like super rich?
Kanye's not as rich as people think. He's actually in a lot of debt from that. He had to borrow some money from his wife, which that was a big controversy in their marriage early on. Because they, as far as I know, I'm a gossip hound, so I listen to all this stuff, but they had their finances separate for that reason, because he's not good with money. He's lost millions, like tens of millions on that fashion line. So I don't think he's as well off as people think. And also there's a certain lifestyle to maintain that is costly. But the other thing is guys like Kanye are addicted to fame. So there's never going to be enough of it.
Yeah, but he's absolutely hated by all the music reviewers. They all slammed his album. All the secular things were like, oh, Kanye's new album, nobody's going to buy it, nobody's going to watch it. And like all the singles are number one.
But guess what else he's doing? He's going to run for president in 2024.
That's what I'm saying though. Like,
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. You guys think I'm joking.
That's horrifying. That's probably, oh my gosh.
He absolutely has plans to run for president in 2024.
My mind is blown.
I'm saying
it's going to happen. What
I'm saying is he's sincere. I'm not saying that necessarily that means that he's going to end up in a good place with all this stuff. Because you can be sincere and also be crazy, you know.
I agree with that. Yeah,
and with some of the stuff he's said in the past, it's like, okay, you know, you've obviously got some psychological issues, right?
Which he admits.
But it doesn't seem to me like, if you listen to the lyrics on the album, it's clear that he's not like, he didn't just pull random Christian terms and throw them in. I'm not cynical in the sense where I think, oh, he's just doing this to get the Christian market. But I do think there's obviously a lot of caution, like with what this article is about with Osteen.
Yeah.
You know, he obviously is a young Christian that doesn't have the discernment to go, maybe I shouldn't, you know, go on stage with Joel Osteen and, you know.
I agree with you. I think I'm there too. I definitely believe he's sincere. Like I've followed Kanye since the beginning of his career, and this isn't a new development either. He's always struggled with his faith. He's always written very openly about, mostly it's about how he doesn't want to follow God because he felt like it would cramp his lifestyle. Like he's always been honest about that. He's got a song called Jesus Walks, which is a hit in the clubs. Like he's not, this isn't new. And after his mom died, I think she was a tether for him, and he lost that tether for a while. And as crazy as it sounds, I think the Kardashian family has given him a little bit of stability that he never had. They might be crazy, but they're united and they're a solid family, you know, like they're family first. And I don't think he's had that. So I definitely believe his faith is sincere. I just also believe that sincere faith and good marketing can go hand in hand. So I'm going to, like you, I'm going to step back and just see where it goes. But he has made his intentions to run for office in 2024 very clear. And the way that I see people kind of latching onto him as some kind of idol, it's very Trump-esque.
Yeah.
It feels very Trump-esque right now.
I come out in favor of President Kanye right now.
Okay, you heard it first. This is an endorsement. Kyle Mann.
Babylon Bee endorses
President
Kanye
West. And then our first lady is Kim Kardashian.
Well, you know, before 2016, you wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
All bets are off.
I remember that was a Frank Fleming tweet one time. He said it was some DJ, I think it was DJ Khalid or something. He's like, if someone was in the news, he's like, don't know who this DJ guy is, don't want to hear about it, don't care. And then he says, like, cut to 4 years later, like, walks outside, who's this president? DJ who?
That is our politics.
All right, I guess we can get into more Kanye stuff in the main topic. Let's jump forward to story 2. Capitol building to be decorated as giant circus tent for duration of impeachment hearings. I was going to do that. I actually got detention in junior high for singing that song in class. I don't know why. That always reminds me of it because I never got in trouble.
Wait, you just randomly...
I spontaneously was like...
Oh my gosh.
And the teacher's like...
There's no context? You just started doing it?
I can't remember. Actually, it was high school, but I can't remember why. I think my teacher was just really like touchy that day. Other kids had already got her going, and we were all kind of wired up. I don't know.
Yeah,
Your school had a no
This
tolerance
is not
policy
on topic at all.
no tolerance policy.
well, kind
for
of is. It
circus
sounds like
Yeah.
a circus.
Maybe
Sounds like high school is a bit of a circus.
Maybe her parents were killed by the circus.
And all the images started flashing before her eyes as you said,
The elephants.
no, not the
anyway.
elephants. Not the elephants.
Is anybody paying attention to all this impeachment stuff? I'm not paying attention.
I have not watched. Oh, Kira's always the one who actually watches this
Yeah,
stuff.
she actually knows stuff.
Oh, okay, well, you guys want to know something funny?
Sure.
I am not paying attention to this impeachment stuff. I am the editor at large for one of the largest conservative blogs in the nation. And my writers, I mean, my Slack's going off as we're talking. My writers are watching the impeachment. My writers are writing about it and covering it. But I've always considered myself an average American, despite what I do in politics. My life is pretty low key, like you guys, just middle class, like just kind of head down, minding my own business. And I feel like I'm pretty representative of that section of America. And I do not have the bandwidth for it. I really don't. And I'll see names like Schiff and Vindal and this person and that person. I'm like, I don't know how all these puzzle pieces fit together. And I am in politics. My job is political. So if I can't make heads or tails out of it, what's the average American thinking? I'm thinking most people are just kind of going about their business. Like, let me know if he gets impeached.
Yeah.
That's it. And by the way, these aren't impeachment hearings. This is just the inquiry. It's not even an impeachment hearing. The media is pitching it like it's an impeachment
So
hearing.
it's like to decide if they're even going to have hearings.
That's right. It's the hearing before the hearing.
It's like the pitch.
Yes.
It's like in Hollywood, it's the pitch.
Yeah, we're not even there. I'm not sure we're going to get there. I just think it's, as the headline so appropriately pointed out, it's just a circus. It's just a distraction. It's just kind of a Hail Mary moving into 2020 because Trump's looking good.
Because at first they didn't even have like an official inquiry, right? So they were having like the hearings about the hearings.
So Washington.
So now we're in stage 2 where it's like the hearings possibly to have the hearing.
We want to hear the witnesses to see. It's like a grand jury to see if we've got enough to move forward, to see if we want to move forward. And as far as I know from monitoring the chatter and my writers, nothing too convincing.
Should we have them on?
We should. No, they're slaving away in the writer's room. It's a small box with no air and no windows.
Wow.
And that's where they stay until they finish their work for the day.
Wow.
Good for them.
The sweatshop.
No bathroom breaks.
Goodness. Brutal.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like
We're committed to the news.
It's like one of those call centers, you know. They just lock 300 people in a room.
Basically.
More articles.
Basically.
More.
I don't think most people care about this.
The impeachment stuff?
Impeachment.
Or the
I got
writing?
nothing interesting.
Nobody cares about the writers, but also the impeachment. No, I don't think. I don't know.
What I see is like on social media, it's just everybody pulls a clip of someone and it's like, this guy totally crushed this guy. Check this out. And you watch it, you're like, okay. Like, I don't.
It's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah. And it's just, and then someone does it the other side. This guy owned the other guy and everybody's getting owned. And
people are like ingesting this like in detail. They just have like an endless pit inside them for this stuff because I feel like stuff like this has been going on since Trump, which is running.
That's the other problem.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's fatigue. That's the other problem. I was on the radio the other day with Dr. Drew, and
Name drop.
I don't want to brag. But, I might have a little crush on Dr. Drew too, because he's the smartest man I've ever met in my life. But we were having a discussion about the impeachment stuff, and I was saying, I think people are getting. I think never Trumpers or Trump haters are getting really disappointed by all the promises of taking him down. So who was that first guy? This is me asking Dr. Drew. I'm like, who's the first? Remember the first guy? He was going to come up. He was going to do some testimony in front of the Senate. And then it was going to be the thing that finally dropped Trump right after the elections. And he was like, see how bad this is?
I can't remember. Yeah.
You can't even remember his name. There have been a dozen this guys up to this point. later on, I remembered that the person I was talking about was James Comey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you remember when, and the bars opened up at 6 a.m. in New York City so all the hipsters could take off work or take off their delivery jobs.
Oh, yeah. And
sit in the bar.
The bars were like selling drinks, like, you know, the Comey hearing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The Comey mule or whatever, you know, you could have.
Yeah. And it was just the first in a long line. And that was going to, and I remember I was monitoring social media and everyone was so excited that this was finally going to be it. And then the next day it was just like kaput because he didn't have anything. And everyone was so sad and disappointed. And I think that Trump haters or Democrat supporters are getting sick of the roller coaster. They just, they want the smoking gun or they just want to move on to elections and boot him out that way, which is how we should be doing it. Just let the American people decide.
Yeah. I mean, they've thrown everything they have at him at this point. You assume there's no big surprise thing they have. Like, oh, now we got this. We've been holding on to it for years. I really don't think
there is.
This is the...
No, I really don't think
there was the talk on the bus with the, you know, whatever. But we got this now. We've been holding on to it.
Yeah.
Like, what do we got? I don't know.
The biggest thing they had was before the elections was the infamous tape, you know, Entertainment Tonight tape.
Yeah. That was, the one,
I don't want to get flower bedded, so I won't mention him. But that was the biggest thing they had. And for any other candidate, that would have been the death knell.
Yeah.
But that's all they had. And that was the smoking gun. And that's it. Since I really don't think there's anything else. I could be wrong.
Yeah. We got one more story here, so let's see. And this would be a nice segue, too, into our main topic. Chick-Fil-A trades adoring Christian fans for outraged mob that won't be appeased until their every demand is met. That's just the truth. That's not even this. That's just what's actually happening right now.
Well, so Chick-Fil-A did this weird, really...
Was it prompted by anything, or they're just like, man, let's do this?
There was a really sanitized statement they released where they're like, we are shifting our funding. And they didn't specifically say, like, we are going to not fund Christian organizations that do anti-LGBTQ policies. But it was kind of clear that all the organizations that the LGBTQ lobby has an issue with are all the ones that they defunded, and they moved their donations elsewhere. So some people were saying, oh, it's just money shifting around. They're just choosing different charities for no reason, you know. But the statement that Chick-fil-A released was pretty, I don't know, I think it was pretty darning, pretty danging. And because it was pretty much like, well, we want to move into new markets and we want to respect the local values and customs of these local, you know, and it was just this weird like corporate speak. You know, you can always tell when a corporate guy is.
Yeah.
When was that statement released? That was when I couldn't figure out.
Like, did they change their funding? Then they made they
changed their funding. Someone did like a gotcha article on it.
CNBC did. This is why I'm skeptical of the outrage surrounding this story right now. And I'm not sure. I read that statement, but I didn't find out the date of its release. Because if it predates the story, then it's probably if it's just yesterday or a few days ago, then maybe your suspicions are correct, because that would tell me that their PR people got in touch with a station that would want to know that. But the thing is that they had contracts for these charities, which ran out last year. So they've been still supporting the charities beyond the contracts. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the Salvation Army actually is an LGBT-friendly organization. They do have LGBTQ services. And they have a whole tab on their page that is dedicated to LGBT youth and LGBT services and programs, and you can donate to that specific program.
Yeah, but I think it's about the hiring. Like, they won't hire LGBTQ.
Oh, so they're like, don't ask, don't tell.
In certain positions, probably.
Sorry, that was my joke.
No gay soldiers, no trans soldiers in the Salvation Army. You know, the Salvation Army actually does that. Like, the positions in the Salvation Army are actually like lieutenant.
What?
Oh, that's like
colonel and stuff.
Feels like very Scientologist.
That's weird.
I mean, more power. Love the Salvation Army. You know, they've done a lot of good work in our nation. They're one of our oldest charities, and so I don't know. I will say that I, like many people, felt disappointed, but I'm reserving my outrage until I really understand what's going on. And I still love delicious chicken and waffle fries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I wasn't incredibly shocked by it. That's why I guess I don't have a huge opinion on it. So I almost want you guys to help me figure out why I need to get an opinion on this.
Well, it is sad that headline, the Babylon Bee headline, as you pointed out, that's just true. It is sad. Like, I can understand why people feel betrayed, and Kyle made a good case for why that's actually what is happening. Mm-hmm. Because, like, look how hard we rallied for them when they were getting the crappy end of the stick. And you don't have to bleep crap. Yeah, come on. We're okay with crap. But
that's
when
like
they were
pastor cuss word.
Yeah, we can say
but when we were getting, when they were getting pummeled unfairly, it was Christians and conservatives and common sense people who stood up and propelled them to their greatest success ever and their highest numbers ever. So it does feel, and then on top of that, despite however the story is being spun, despite them doing this, GLAAD came out today and said, well, that's not enough.
I know.
You need to do, you need to be pro LGBT.
Yeah, you need to fund whatever super LGBT.
Well, so it's never going to be enough.
Well, that's what cracked me up. And that's why we did the headline this way, is because it was like, you have these Christian fans that will stick with you through thick and thin, and who probably still are going to go to Chick-Fil-A all the time, even now. And you instead want to appease the mob that will hate you and cancel you and destroy you no matter what. Like, it's just such a weird thing to me.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, GLAAD was like, well, that's good, but it's not enough.
It's never enough.
And you know that's coming.
That's you can't ever capitulate to the mobs because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it always cracks me up when someone gets canceled and then you see them release like a statement like, I'm sorry for this. And you're like, don't do it. Because you're just...
Especially when it's a comedian.
Did you see that guy that was the scab for Deadspin when Deadspin went under?
No.
There was a guy that...
Oh, yeah.
He was like this... He was the guy that they hired to replace all the writers that quit. And they weren't even on strike. They just quit.
Yeah.
And they hired him. And he's like, I'm so happy to work for Deadspin. And he got ratioed hard, like 4,000 replies saying, you're a scab. So he's like, I have listened to you guys and I feel compassion for you and I'm going to quit my job. And that tweet got ratioed like, you're still a scab. It's like, why? Yeah. Why do you apologize when they hate you anyway?
No, I know.
I don't get it.
It's ridiculous. I think part of that comes from people who spend too much time on social media because then you do feel like the mobs are real, but the mobs aren't really real. They're not real.
Yeah. People have their online persona than in real life. You don't act like that in real life.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff we say to each other on Twitter that we would never say face to face. I'm largely complimentary to you and Kyle on Twitter, but I would never be so complimentary face to face.
Yeah, you're harsh in real life.
Brutal. Or like sweating bullets over here.
Just throwing us into tables and stuff.
Yeah. I don't put up with your niceties.
Yeah.
Don't put up with our white supremacy.
Your white delight.
All right, well, let's move on to our topic of the week. And I think it'll be a good talk about cultural stuff, I guess.
Actually, yeah.
See how? Do you have a sound cue?
We had one. I think that I forgot to.
Can I do it?
Dan's new at this, so don't blame him. He's doing good.
And now the Babylon Bees topic of the week.
I wanted to do it.
Here we are. We're talking about
culture. Christianity.
Kanye West.
Yes.
Chick-Fil-A, everything that starts with C.
War on Christmas.
Except for Kanye, it starts with K, but...
How, so, like, what are we talking about? Like, giving out chick tracts on Halloween and burning people's Christmas trees because they're pagan?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll start off. I'll say this.
Okay.
Because everyone in this room is involved in the entertainment culture in one way or another. So I think a lot of Christians have in the past decided to pull back from entertainment culture because it's been just so offensive and egregious. I mean, for good reason, But what happened was it left a vacuum in entertainment, and a vacuum always gets filled. And it got filled with all these voices that don't necessarily represent us. And so then we felt we had to pull back even further. But in a way, I feel like we've abandoned the culture. And we're responsible for some of the direction that it's taken because we've decided, well, we're going to raise pastors and nurses, which they're the best, but like nobody, I don't feel like a lot of Christians raise artists anymore. And art is such a valuable and influential medium, especially in American society, modern society. I don't know, like, how do Christians get involved in the culture without succumbing to the culture, and also without maybe consuming some of the distasteful things? Because I'll say this a lot. I say this a lot, and people will come back at me and say, well, there's nothing on TV that I want to watch. You know, I don't want to go to the movies. It's all trash. I don't want to spend my money for that stuff. I'm not interested in rap. I'm not going to buy a Kanye album. So how do Christians stay involved and engaged in the culture when they find it so distasteful? Because I don't think distaste is enough of a reason to abandon it. But I also respect the idea that there's nothing there for me. I don't have a lot to enjoy. I don't know how you guys approach that.
As soon as there's a gay character on a Netflix show, I just turn it off.
So you don't watch anything.
It's almost always a female lawyer.
Hallmark movies.
I admit, like I like art where I see people who are different than me. You know, whether that's someone who's gay or, you know, someone who's not a white supremacist like I am, or something like that.
Right. It's hard to find those things these days.
Yeah.
They're out there.
No, but if I enjoy seeing the world through other people's eyes because it's an experience I can't have. At the same time, though, I do feel when it's just a corporate, like, we're putting in the gay character now, you know, that it feels disrespectful to gay people. You know, it feels disrespectful to me, the viewer. You know, it doesn't feel like art. It feels like a cold corporate decision. You know, so. I don't know. I guess I do like seeing culture that, like, I don't think art needs to affirm my worldview all the time. And I think art is bad if it does that.
That's a good point.
Mic dropped.
It's like the difference between, I always bring up I just love the movie Get Out by Jordan Peele.
Yep.
And
great film.
Like the difference between that and then the movie where they clearly inserted black characters in to check boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, this is a work of art that puts you into the mind of Jordan Peele, you know, of this idea, and he's selling it through this great art. Like, to me, that's like, I may not at the end of the day agree with him on almost anything, but like to respectfully give me that art.
Yeah. Without preaching at me,
he's not yelling at me, preaching at me, he's not tweeting at me. He's making this amazing piece of art, and like,
and you can infer from it what you want or don't want.
And again, that's the other great thing, about movies and things like that, is it's not supposed to be preaching and telling you exactly what to believe. Right. It's supposed to be raising questions and a topic for you to go talk to whoever you want to about, and just kick up ideas in your head, you know? Yeah. And then Christians have a tough time with that. Like, we shouldn't be questioning. We should be telling.
Yeah, we don't like questioning.
Yeah. The answer has to be, you need the character to fall to their knees and accept Christ at the pinnacle of the movie. Otherwise, it's unchristian.
Isn't that the problem, I think, with how we separate Christian entertainment from just entertainment? Is Christian entertainment seems to be like, it's the same problem that we're identifying with, I'll just say, like, progressive entertainment culture or left wing. It's that it's got to be imbued with this message instead of just telling a lovely story or an interesting story that also happens to include these elements. I think there's space for Christians to find entertainment that they like if they could be a little bit open-minded about what they're going to get. And they're probably not going to find, like, a lot of mainstream movies where there's no cussing. Like, if you can't stand cussing, you know, maybe I feel like you might be missing out on some really great entertainment like Get Out. I love Get Out because it's a great kind of thriller movie. It's done by a young up and coming director, which is, you know, and it's not like a rehash or a reboot to see something original, new and creative. But what I really love about Get Out is that it's a whole movie about white liberals.
Yeah,
that's what the movie is about.
It really the progressive elites.
It is.
Up in the hills.
And my liberal black friends and conservative ones, like, we laugh about that movie because we've all had that experience where you're just kind of the token in the room, and then people feel really compelled to share their political views with you It's almost like a form of virtue signaling or something like, hey, I'm okay. Like, look at me. I'd like the guy, like I'd vote for Obama twice if I could, like.
Yeah. I forget what the question they ask him is when he first comes into the room. The black guy comes into the room and they're just asking all these awkward questions.
Yeah.
And they're like calling out, oh, we know you're black. And they're like saying all these, and it's just like, what?
That's what it's like.
And it puts me in those shoes.
Yeah.
An experience that I would never have, myself, because I'm never mistaken for a black person.
Yeah. I mean,
Sadly.
what was I watching? I was watching a show recently. I can't even remember. It was like a documentary, like a Neil deGrasse Tyson on space or something. And it didn't have any kind of political agenda, although of course at the end we were made to know that humans are responsible for the destruction of the earth and possibly the universe because of our plastic straws. But
Amen.
I was watching and thinking to myself the whole time, Jesus is all over this show. Like it was all a show about the miracles of space
The cosmos or whatever.
And that's not how it was framed. But when I was looking at it, that's what I was seeing. And I think a lot of Christians are missing out on that experience. Like you can see Jesus in places where you wouldn't expect him to be. Just by appreciating the art and the loveliness of a certain presentation. God is everywhere. He's not just in the church. He's not just in your prayer corner at home, or he's not just in your Bible. All of this is what he made, and all of our creativity, for better or for worse, is what he imbued in us. So there is joy to be found, I think, even in the most unexpected places when it comes to the arts.
Yeah, I had a roommate in college who had the Carl Sagan version of that. He had the VHS tape. It was like 12 VHS tapes in this big case. And so I was at Christian college, and I show up, and he's got this atheist documentary on the universe. He's like, "Oh, you got to watch this.
We have to burn this."
No. Opposite. He's like, "We have to watch this." It might have gotten.
I'm saying you were saying
it might have gotten burned if they had discovered, if John MacArthur had discovered it, but. Yeah. But and it's like he's got an opposite worldview, but it's like he's accidentally pointing out the glory of God in the universe. And it's like, look at all this amazing stuff. Oh, by the way, you're an accident, and this is all an accident.
What a crazy coincidence all this is.
Yeah, I think we missed out on a lot of opportunities for those moments, and I don't know. What do you feel about Christians making should we be investing more heavily in like the Christian arts? I know like Kevin and Sam Sorbo have a production company. They do a lot of films actually. And some that have done quite well in the theaters, largely thanks to the church audience or the Christian going audience. But they've got like a decent production quality. And I still I watched them to support them, but I still haven't seen anything that's like, good. Wow, this is really good.
Sorry.
I can remember years ago when Kirk Cameron was making all the Kirk Cameron movies, Fireproof came out, and everyone in my family was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to see Fireproof. This is the best movie. It is so good." And so I was like, well, I'm skeptical, but everyone's telling me to watch this movie because that's how everyone described it. So good. And I sat down and it was so bad. It was awful. The message was great. Yeah. The message is about pulling through and like staying committed to your marriage and learning how to love each other again when the love is gone. Great message. Now I understand that's what they meant when they said it's good. But I was sitting down looking to be entertained. Like, I know that marriage is important. I know that marriage gets tough. And I don't necessarily need to learn the moral lesson. I can go to church for that, but I would like to see it framed in a way that, was nice to watch, but it was stilted. The editing was horrible. The writing was atrocious. The acting was atrocious. Everything about it was awful. It was a horrible movie. But I feel like Christians excuse so much because they're like, well, as long as we said Jesus, then that's good.
So why do you hate Jesus?
I didn't say I hate Jesus. I said just like Kirk Cameron. I know it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, similar.
No, I like Kirk Cameron. I like that he's done his own thing. He hasn't. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. But that's not going to stop me from saying that his movies are not good. They're not well made.
they're a very specific audience and they're made for a very specific purpose, right? They're made for your grandma or whatever who's like, I want to watch a Christian movie. And they know what they're getting. They're sitting down for a lesson. They're sitting down to have their beliefs confirmed. And
it's like they're gluten intolerant and this has the label gluten free. Like, they know that they can eat it. Like they know they're not going to be surprised by any cuss words or anything like, or any thoughts they don't want to have to encounter, you know, like.
And I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I think
it's fun. Mm-hmm.
But it's not gonna affect culture, and that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Are we trying to impact culture? Because if we are, that's not gonna do it.
I think
that's what culture wants us to just compartmentalize off and go, make your little movies over here and leave us alone.
Yeah, right. I feel that. By the way, that's why I watch Hallmark Christmas movies, because it's in a box. And I know what I'm going to get.
You're getting.
I know that wasn't a joke. Even I love Hallmark Christmas movies. You're going to see me tweeting about them a lot this season.
Why are you laughing at
I thought you meant you like them because
Hallmark.
They're going to impact culture.
No. But oddly enough, they have in a way.
Can Hallmark Christian Christmas movies save the culture?
Have impacted culture, and I'll tell you why. It's become this is their 10th anniversary of the Hallmark Christmas movie season. They used to do one or two here and there, but now it's a season. But what you're starting to see is other mainstream outlets creating their own Hallmark type movies. It's been that influential. So Netflix is doing their own Hallmark type. Lifetime is doing their thing. Oprah's Channel Own has a couple of Hallmark style movies on there this season. I see you judging me. Look at how do you know all this? Why are you?
You're rattling off the names of all the movies.
I know that.
I love, my favorite thing about those is the names that they come up with. Like it's always a Christmas pun or
and
it's like Christmas presents with a CE or something like.
And then there always has to be a character who has a Christmassy name. So typically the male protagonist is like Nick.
Yeah.
And the female is like, I don't know. It's Noelle.
Yeah.
Or
Mary.
Yeah. There's a formula, but that's I guess that's what my point ultimately is, that there's a formula there, like what Kyle was saying. That's what I know when I'm sitting down to get. I'm not getting any surprises. I'm not even getting any pop culture references in a Hallmark movie. It is just straight up like one man, one woman. Everybody gets what they want at the end of the day.
That's how I am. Like if I see a movie that's like this guy's kids get kidnapped and he kills everybody that messed with his kids, I'm like, all right, watch that.
Yeah,
you see the poster, the description. Yeah. You know what you're gonna get.
I like that. Michael Bay. I'm down for Michael Bay.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting when I go sit to a Michael Bay.
It's the same thing with a lot of the Marvel movies. You know, you're talking about like some of them are just paint by number. It's like you see the poster, like, oh, he's gonna punch bad guys and something bad will happen, but he'll overcome it and win. You know, you know what you're getting, and I don't even know that those movies necessarily affect worldviews as much as maybe we think they do, because it's
just theme park rides.
Yeah, it's just a comic book movie.
Yeah, but I really want to be involved in shaping the culture. That's always been a passion of mine. I was telling Ethan on the way in here, like, I'm actually an actress. That's how I started out. I have a degree in theater. I stumbled into the politics thing while I was being a stay-at-home mom for over a decade. So that's how I got started here. But I still have a passion for affecting the culture, because I see, as a mother and as a political pundit and just a regular citizen, I see that the culture has way more influence on my children than what's happening in Washington, D.C. does. And policy is important, but it's downstream of culture. And like one of the things I had the opportunity to do this year was to make a movie. I mean, my first short film. It's on Harriet Tubman. And I chose Harriet Tubman because I felt that she was a great way into the culture, because everyone loves Harriet Tubman. But what a lot of people don't talk about with Harriet Tubman is some of the values that might be considered more conservative values that she had. Like, she was a dedicated Christian. She also was very attached to her pistol, you know, and she didn't suffer fools very much. She was quite raw. There's only one document of Harriet Tubman speaking in her own voice. It's a book. It's this woman decided to go hunt her down at the end of her life, and she was in her 90s, just living out her final years in an old age home for abandoned slaves that she had started, because a lot of these slaves were freed and then they didn't have family. They didn't have places to go. There was nowhere to live out their lives. So she ended up there, and she had she stayed there for weeks and interviewed her. And this is the only tone that we have in Harriet's voice. It's where we get most of our information about her. But she was quite raw, you know, and I chose her because, to me, that was a great way into the into the culture. She was an American hero. She was also a Black hero. She was also, you know, an abolitionist hero, but also she's a great reminder about why I love the Second Amendment. And she's a great reminder about why I love freedom and why I don't think the government should be making decisions, all that many decisions every day for Americans. Because when we give the government that kind of power, we get ourselves into a situation where we need the Harriet Tubmans. So to me, that was like, but I filmed it as an action film. So I made her into an action star. So instead of making her an escaped slave, she was like a ninja, kind of like
commando.
Yeah, like I'll punch you out and shoot you if I got a problem with you. And it had like a modern flair. So we went for kind of like a blaxploitation kind of look with the film and with our scoring and everything. And we stylized it a lot. So I thought to me, that's a great representation of taking messages that are, you know, pro-Christian values, pro-conservative values, which is important to me, and packaging it in a way that I could show it to anyone, that anyone would enjoy it. And they might not come away thinking, yeah, I love the Second Amendment now. But it was it's some food for thought. Like maybe there's some value in this amendment because it was used to great value by one of our greatest heroes.
What kind of AR-15 did Harriet Tubman wield in your film?
An assault rifle.
Yeah. That's what it stands for, assault rifle 15.
Right. Assault rifle number, because the first 14 failed. So 15
so
was like the one that...
We've got it, by Jove.
We'll never change it now.
But I would like to see more. I want to see more Christians doing that. I don't want you to necessarily get stuck in the Christian ghetto. I want you to get out there and make films that win Oscars and people have no choice but to enjoy. And I think the way you do that is to lay off the messaging. The messaging comes from your point of view. You know, that's all it is. Lay off the messaging. Don't teach a message. Write a good story. You know, all of these things that we love are encompassed in Christ. A romance, you know, comedy, horror, all of these. I'm a big horror fan. A lot of Christians turn up their nose at that, but it's the last place where you can clearly talk about evil and good.
Yeah, we did a recent episode where we talked about all our favorite horror movies with our movie guru buddy. Yeah.
Oh, cool. What's some of your? What were some of your favorites?
Footloose.
The Baptist horror film. I'm a big fan
Dancing.
Of Exorcism of Emily Rose by Scott Derrickson, who we also interviewed recently.
Oh, yeah. That's my daughter and I my daughter's 12 and she's turned into a huge horror aficionado. And that was one we recently watched.
That's a great, because my daughter's 13. She wanted to do a PG-13 horror movie night. So she actually didn't get to that one. She was on her list of 5. She was very ambitious to watch 5 movies in one night and she didn't make it.
That is 3. Wow. Well, 3 is.
She did The Ring and Ring's all right.
That's the other thing I love about horror is it's way easier to find a PG-13 horror movie than it is PG-13.
It's still good, yeah.
That's still good. And I also, for those people who are like panicking that I'm letting my 12-year-old watch horror movies, I have one of my closest friends is a horror movie fanatic. She goes to see the movies first. And then because there's some things that I draw the line at. If there's open like sexuality in it, no, which you can get a lot in some horror genres of horror. But my daughter's favorite horror series is the Conjuring universe. She loves the Conjuring universe. She's been out at Halloween as Annabelle, and she went out as the nun last year.
Is that Nun and then Annabelle? Those are both part of the Conjuring multiverse.
It's all the Conjuring universe. I didn't know this was
because I saw this like Annabelle, and I'm like, wasn't that a character in another movie? And then there's like Annabelle 4, and you know,
so
there's the Nun. That's part of it too.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
A whole universe.
It's
and
like the Marvel universe.
La Llorona was the one that was just out. That's part of the Conjuring universe. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I think I saw the Conjuring and I thought it was kind of, it wasn't that good.
Same here.
I was like, it's kind of lame.
What? I love the Conjuring.
It got great reviews and I saw it was like just a horror. It was
I
like
remember being kind of, is that the one with the couple?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a couple and it's like a haunted
I
house
was impressed that they were clearly had faith, right? Like,
Yeah.
Sure.
So some people who hate the Conjuring movies call them Christian superhero movies because it's based on Ed and what's the wife's name? I can't remember her now.
Cindy.
No, they were very popular paranormal experts, and they were the only people that the Catholic Church ever endorsed to perform exorcisms who weren't part of the church, who weren't ordained priests. I think they were Catholics, but not priests. And there's a lot of, back and forth as to whether or not what they did was for real. And you can find plenty of skeptics on there. But whatever, the Conjuring universe has been a great addition to the horror canon, and it sparks a lot of conversation between me and my daughter. Like, we talk a lot about what does it mean when there's an exorcism? Like, what we talk a lot about the spiritual realm and what that means. And, she's asked me some questions that maybe had some answers that were a little deeper than I thought, but like talking about what is evil, what's the nature of evil, what's the nature of a spiritual haunting, and where does God's power come into all of it? I think there's a lot of great opportunity for discussion. And I think that's where Christians leave a lot on the table when they abandon mainstream culture. They leave those important conversations that can be sparked by watching something you don't really love on TV or film.
Yeah, that's one thing I loved that you said last time we were on that stuck with me. And this whole race thing, I'm not trying to change the topic, but you forget that, like, because you just said that we have to just remember this is just the sin condition. Like, all this back and forth about this is at the end of the day, this is, it's not a surprise to us as Christians that sin distracts us with all these things, reasons to attack each other and hate each other, and also to feel victimized and to feel above others. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I like that. So I think it was that it was just that, like, bringing it back to the faith. It's there's so many rabbit trail distractions in our culture.
Yeah,
you almost forget that they all come back to the truth, right? And
that's a good point.
And we don't necessarily always connect it.
Yeah, like a lot of these are the film offerings and the TV offerings that we see are about the sinful condition, our sinful condition. They really are. They might not have the resolution that we'd like to see, which is, the ultimate resolution that came in at the cross. But there's always room for discussion about what things look like. And I just think Hollywood is really missing. There should be a lot more open and proud Christians in Hollywood than there are. And part of that is because the culture, I mean, Ethan, of course, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but the culture drives out people like us, or at least, deters us from pursuing it. But part of it is also we've deemed it too distasteful to wade in. And let's remember where Christ went, and who he went with. The most distasteful people in society, people that even you and I, even having seen the biblical stories, people that you and I would be like, if I would want to sit down to dinner with that guy. He hasn't showered in 2 months and he's been living on Skid Row for
I noticed you looked at Ethan when you said that.
It's like subconscious. Sorry, that's my subconscious.
So, like, let's think about, because culture isn't just movies, let's think about something like Chick-Fil-A, whether or not this anti-LGBT donation thing turns out to be, how impactful that turns out to be. But, you look at the fast food restaurant market and you say, well, what would a Christian chicken sandwich restaurant look like? Like, that's such a weird question.
Yeah.
But really it would look like what Chick-fil-A is doing, which is basically making really good chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
good service.
And so why do we feel like it's different in Hollywood? Like a guy who just works on John Wick 3 or something, and he's a Christian and he does, what do people do on movies, Ethan?
I've never been in a movie.
Like carry
special effects. A guy like, we shouldn't a Christian like just
do excellent work.
Do excellent work. So why do we feel like what I'm trying to say is, what's the difference between like music, movies, books that we feel like it has to be explicitly Christian versus a chicken sandwich restaurant?
You're a plumber or something.
Chick-fil-A doesn't serve you chicken patties in the shape of a cross. Right. Like, well, maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. But
like In-N-Out Burger, they put little tiny Bible verses underneath.
Right. But I think it would be just as, Christian of a company if they didn't, right? Because it's just, here's good food.
Yeah.
It's way better than Whataburger, Here you go.
Oh, whoa. Shots fired right across the bow here.
Send all angry emails.
This is already going to be the most controversial episode of Babylon Bee podcast.
I don't think I've ever had that.
When I went to Texas, everybody was like, I got to try Whataburger. They're no In and Out. We know how to do it right. You got to go. And then I went and I did what they do when they come In and Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You're just a California elitist." Well,
we're allowed to be elitist because our burgers are better. So
right, it's not arrogance if it's true.
Yeah.
Well, I like that perspective. That I feel very strongly that Christians really at this point in time more than ever, Christians should be wading into the culture and to be unafraid. And this cancel culture is concerning. Mm-hmm. I do feel like it has an expiration date, but I could be wrong about that. But I also think that there's strength in numbers. And when more of us stand up to say, we're not going to be bullied. We're not going to feel ashamed for doing something that is perfectly normal in American society and has been since its founding, which is to worship the Creator and to recognize Him in our daily lives. And I wish more Christians would step forward and get engaged in making things that affect the culture. And so, yeah, if you run a chicken sandwich restaurant, then you run that restaurant in a way that is an example to everyone around you. You treat your employees well. You give great incentives. You make great food. You know, if you're a filmmaker, you put your heart and soul into your art. When I was making my film's called Minty, by the way. Okay. Which was Harriet Tubman's real name. Her real name is Araminta Ross. And her family referred to her as Minty. And so you can go to tubmanmovie.com to find that. And the whole film is only 11 minutes and it's online if you want to see it. But one of the things I did, I got to set every day. It wasn't a Christian movie. Wasn't a Christian set. But every day I got to set, I prayed. I was first person there in the morning, and I would just walk and I would just like lay hands in certain places and just be like asking God to bless the production, to keep everyone safe. And I really felt like that kind of embedded an atmosphere of hope and a positivity. And a lot of people commented too on not knowing that I was walking around praying. I mean, I wasn't making a spectacle. They might have just thought I was just checking certain things, but a lot of people were like, this is the most positive set I've ever worked on, you know? And I just think that there are things like that we can be doing. We don't have to be, walking with the Bible in our hand and telling people about Jesus every 5 seconds. We represent Jesus with our excellence in whatever we're doing.
So you're anti-Bible.
Kyle.
Sorry. She's reaching across the table to hit me right now. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of what I was trying to say was, as Christians, we should do excellent work.
Yeah.
And work that's in line with God's will and the gospel. And maybe that looks like sharing Jesus with your coworkers. Maybe it doesn't, depending on the time. And
yeah, there's no one. Yeah. Wade in there, wade into the culture. Like I encourage people all the time, raise artists. They're going to go away and they're going to get some crazy ideas and they're probably going to annoy you for a while. Mm-hmm. And then, like most people, they'll mature and they'll come back to what they know. I mean, I believe the word on this one. When God says raise up a child in the ways of the Lord, and when he's older, he won't depart from them. I truly, truly believe that. But I don't think Christians should be scared of the culture. I think it's time now more than ever to jump back in. And if you have an idea for something creative or something not so creative, there's no better time than to do this. Your voice is needed. We're on a precipice here where we're getting ready to turn into a post-Christian nation, the way that Europe is post-Christian right now. And we don't want to go that way. Christianity is the foundation of what is a stable society. Say what you want about that. That is just a fact. And when we decide we're a post-Christian nation, we're in for a lot more trouble. So I have some European friends who always make fun of us for our political contention here, specifically between religious folks and non-religious folks, and they feel like that's base. They feel like that's so primitive. And to me, I'm always like, no, that is what you're witnessing isn't stupidity. It's passion. We haven't given up yet. So every time you hear Christians, whining and complaining in the media or talking about politics or whatever, it's not because they're just like little whiny babies that can't deal with how things are going. We have not given up the culture yet. We have not given up. You guys gave up. We don't want to be you. So yeah, it does require that we get in there and battle every now and then. But the culture is lost if we decide we're too good for it.
We don't want to be Europe.
That's the title.
Kira has spoken. Amen.
Europe is a lovely place.
And let Hank Hill, all the Hank Hills listening, say, amen. And what's your opinion on soccer?
I mean, it's a communist sport.
Yes.
The sport of communists.
Kira remains our favorite guest.
I tried recently. I live in Soccer Nation. Orange County is, I think when we first moved here, my husband was looking at statistics and he said, I think something like 75% of the players on the women's Olympic soccer team come from Orange County.
Really?
Like it is a huge soccer place. And so I tried to get into it. I went to one game, like one semi-pro game. And I was like, what am I doing here? I was like on my phone the whole time. I'm like, oh, there goes the ball. It got kicked and it's getting kicked again. And the score was like 1-0 at the end of a 4-hour game. This is not my
Well,
sport.
I feel it every sport.
When a culture abandons God, God gives them over to soccer.
Yeah. To
Amen.
empty field. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're getting dangerously close to being a woman who's preaching at us now.
Well, I'm woman-splaining. There's a lot of testosterone at the B.
Woman preachers, so go home, Kara.
Why isn't your hair covered?
That was going to be that's the topic I wanted to talk about.
Do you want to?
Originally was this whole Beth Moore thing.
Are we doing this in the subscriber?
I guess we'll do it in the subscriber.
Let's do it in the subscriber section.
The juicy hot. Crazy.
Okay, I have some thoughts. So if you want to listen to the subscriber portion of this podcast, if you're really curious about Kira Davis's thoughts on this issue, and I have many, then you should head on over to the subscriber portion. And if you're not already paying for that great content, do it now.
You will.
I'm sliding a fresh George Washington over to Kira right now. Harriet Tubman. Weren't they going to put Harriet on the 20 or something?
Yeah, we were.
I very much support
Obama
this.
just made that announcement. This is a publicity announcement. It's too expensive to put her on a bill.
It'd be awesome.
not gonna happen.
I saw some of the art renders where she's got the pistol.
Yeah.
Like how cool would that be?
That'd be sweet.
Way cool. I mean, I'm all for it, but it's too expensive to
Replace
print.
one of the war criminals, put her on there. I'm on board.
Which war criminal?
Well, they're going to replace Jackson, I think. He killed a bunch of Indians.
Well, I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, so
Kyle always goes down these libertarian.
I'm
guy
at Alex Jones. I'm pounding on the table. Okay, so do we have hate mail today?
Yeah, do we have hate mail? We got some, right?
No, we did. Hold on, let me pull it up.
You have our hate mail noise there?
I could not read my hate mail on this podcast. I get flower bedded.
That's what's fun. You add the flower bed.
I like how this is becoming a verb.
I know. Sure.
I really miss Adam Ford.
What are you
Still
laughing
laugh
at?
it. They still laugh at the sound.
I like that you guys entertain yourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best.
One of my favorite things.
It's the cheapest form of
Yeah.
entertainment. He's still looking. Should I see if I can find it first?
The
It's the one you told me, this is great.
oh, did I tag you in it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I just found it. Oh no.
Welcome to the Kyle and Ethan look through their email portion
very
of the Babylon Bee podcast.
It's loading.
We're very
It's
prepared.
loading. I find it, I'll say this while you guys are looking. I do find it quite interesting that people take the time to write a hate
I
mail.
know.
Like, I feel like I'm so busy,
where do you
to
find
actually
time?
sit down and write somebody hateful words seems like such a luxury.
Okay,
Mine won't load.
you need to have flower bed ready, Dan.
Uh-oh, okay.
Okay. You guys are like if Breitbart took over The Onion. Please, for the love of all that's good and decent, hire at least one person who is funny. Your sad pawpaw jokes are not only lame, but make anyone who reads them dumber.
Wow.
Sincerely, someone who is funnier when I'm
Flowerbed.
Your collective moms than you are.
Dang.
Each and every day. And ironically, you are an instrument of Babylon. Just start cranking out the right-wing propaganda and leave the attempt at being funny to the professionals.
Slam.
Absolutely devastated.
Well, here's what's very interesting about that email is that person listened to your whole podcast. So thanks for the clicks.
Or maybe read
they probably
read a bunch of articles.
Maybe there are people that like that's what they do. They hate listen, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the one that I was thinking of was the one who's replying to the podcast.
Oh, we got a podcast here?
I thought that was a podcast one. The hate clicks pay just as much as the love clicks, folks. So hate away.
Remember that one? They're like, "What? Why would I listen to a podcast or watch it?" And then they're like, "Do you listen to podcasts? What are they?" Like, they didn't even know what a podcast was or something. It was weird. Anyway, we could.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I tagged it with hate. It was the guy.
I don't know how to use this program with emails in it.
Yeah, the guy.
Ethan is such a boomer.
I know.
Okay, boomer.
Well, Seth, our CEO, loves all these different weird apps that organize everything, but they organize them so much that I don't know how to find anything.
Yeah,
so like this one says, "You did it. Inbox is at 0." Okay. I don't know what I did, but I have no emails now.
Are you talking about the guy who was asking what a podcast was?
Yeah.
Well, I can find it here.
And we sent back the Wikipedia page for podcasts.
Wait, here it is. I think I found it. Oh, here it is.
Do we need flower bedding?
No flower bedding.
Okay.
What?
Darn.
Dan's all disappointed. What is a podcast, and why would anyone waste valuable time watching or listening to one? Is this something you watch or listen to?
Oh my gosh.
Shalom.
Oh.
That's a good ending.
I'm trying to picture who that person would be. Is it somebody from a foreign country where they
like
don't
a rabbi,
have... But then they have email.
Rabbi guy.
But they have email.
It's true.
Well, we sent out, this was in reply, we sent out like a newsletter. It's like, check out our new podcast.
Like the new episode.
And this guy replies and he's like, what is a podcast?
Why would I listen to it?
That's fascinating.
I go immediately give him an old Jewish guy.
He's like a shepherd out in the... What's this podcast thing?
What is it? And why would I listen to it?
And he's like, shalom. Well, maybe it's not hate mail. He's just being very respectful. He's
just asking some questions. Like,
there's probably some people who don't know what a podcast is. Yeah.
I find that crazy, but okay. I guess you're right. It's a big country.
Yeah.
We're not even sure if this person's in this country.
Yeah, it's
it
true.
Could be somewhere else.
It is the world.
Somewhere strange, like Canada. Somewhere like that. Or they don't have electronics or...
California, something like that. Mm-hmm. Or we don't have electricity.
Electricity.
Have you been affected at all by that?
Not yet. Fingers crossed.
I got another email about it.
Oh boy, we're SDGE.
You are?
And they haven't created any shenanigans yet. But I definitely feel for everybody.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yes. Seems ridiculous that we're dealing with this in the most advanced nation, in the most advanced state in the world. But
socialism. Okay, so we're going to go into our subscriber portion, and if you want to hear Kira Davis tell all the women to go home, you can go to babylonb.com.
No spoilers.
babylonb.com/plans and subscribe at any level, and you get ad-free, full-length podcasts. So do that. And other than that, we're throwing you off the plane without a parachute right now.
Don't throw them off without letting me.
You get a picture.
Let me plug my stuff. All right.
Minty.
I didn't come all the way out here to this gorgeous compound just to talk to you, handsome men. My film is Minty, and you can find that at tubmanmovie.com, or you can just look that up on YouTube. It's 11 minutes long. Let us know how you enjoy it, and share. We're actually pitching it as a TV series. Nice. So
I would watch.
I feel like I will watch too. So we're really excited about the directions that things are going.
Has anyone done a Harriet Tubman
action movie? Like, don't you know that men won't watch female action movies? That's
boy.
That's what... because Charlie's Angels
Elizabeth
failed.
Banks said that. Yeah, Charlie's Angels flopped. Even though I don't know how you would expect to carry an action film with Kristen Stewart as your lead and then two unknowns, but
or an action property from the 70s that stars women that was hugely successful. And then to say that
it was absurd. It doesn't even look like it was a good movie. So, but anyway,
I remember I saw the trailer. Looked,
just watch Sucker Punch instead.
Why?
Just fantastic.
Well, I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised with Minty. I mean, keep in mind we only had 11 minutes to tell the story, so it's condensed. But I had to pare it down we had written it as a series, so I had to pare it down because I got a grant to do the film. So anyways, you can go see that. I really appreciate your support on that. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Real Kira Davis. I've got 2 podcasts, Smart Girl Politics podcast, which you guys are going to appear on briefly on this week's episode. And then I have Just Listen to Yourself, which is a new podcast I've launched. And that's where I take a hot topic each week and I take all the talking points around that topic and I draw them out to their logical conclusion. So it's kind of a thought exercise because I think when people say things, but they don't really think about what they mean. Mm-hmm. So I draw them all the way out to their logical conclusion. An example might be socialism, where I talk about how socialism says that it's fair for everyone to have a piece of the same pie. But then what you're really saying is we want people to have as many tools as possible to reach the greatest success as possible. But when you get successful, we're going to tear you down as a sellout and a billionaire. So I don't think people think all the way through of what they're saying. So I do lots of different topics: abortion, education, race, everything. So you can find that anywhere where you find podcasts. Again, that's Just Listen to Yourself with Kira Davis.
Are you going to cover Fartgate?
Listen,
and we'll link this.
I got home. I was doing radio all day yesterday. I got home, opened Twitter, and I was like, "What?" It was all about farts, and I was like, "I'm closing this. I'm done. I am off the internet tonight. I have no idea what's going on." But suddenly, everyone in my timeline's talking about farts.
Do you buy the mug excuse?
I don't think it was a fart. It sounded like a zipper or something.
Someone said the mug was sliding across the table. But I don't know. He like picks.
It was weird how he paused.
He stands up on his tiptoes.
He does.
He does, and he stops talking. Goes.
Eric Swalwell was talking on.
Eric Swalwell farted on television.
TV. I don't know. I did not watch the clip. I did not engage in any of the.
Don't take this away from me. I need something to believe in. The people need Fartgate.
But also the way things are mic'd on interview like that. There's no mic that close to the fart that they would pick it up.
Well, they knew he was coming on, so they
mic'd his butt.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a really great podcast. All right, the level of intelligent discussion.
More talk about Fartgate.
Okay, I'm not talking about Fartgate.
Charlie's Angels.
Okay,
I almost said Angles.
Women.
That's the math where they go to they get a math degree. Charlie's Angles and Go Home, Beth Moore.
Go home, Beth Moore.
Go home, Beth Moore.
Everybody else, we're throwing you out of the plane right now. No parachute. See you later.
Kyle and Ethan would like to thank Seth Dillon for paying the bills, Adam Ford for creating their job, the other writers for tirelessly pitching headlines, the subscribers, and you, the listener. Until next time, this is Dave D'Andrea, the voice of the Babylon Bee, reminding you to go forth and put Richard Dawkins' book in the fiction section.